Good morning, folks, and good morning, AI readers. To add them to the list when we do our welcoming remarks now, it's kind of fun on these things. Thank you for taking the time to join us this morning. We are going to get started in another minute or so. Just give some folks time to log in and join us here, and then we'll get rolling with the folks from DRT Cyber. While I have your attention and we're getting going, please note that you can use the chat. It's available there to you. And we can also use the Q&A portion. So we'll be checking those at the end of the webinar. So if you have any questions as we go along here, feel free to either use the chat section or the Q&A tool. All right. And like I said, we'll target maybe 11:03 to get things rolling here before we turn it over to DRT. So yeah, 1 minute warning here, folks. So if you do need to just go top off your coffee or grab a glass of water, now's the time to do it. All right. Well, let's get rolling. Folks can catch up as they sign in here. So again, good morning. Thank you for tuning in to this MICA member spotlight that we have today with DRT Cyber. Joining us today from DRT is Neil Beaton, Senior Director of Business Development, and Alan Gilson, among many things I hear, but today with the title Security Operations. And they're going to be chatting a little bit about cybersecurity on mine sites and what we can do what they can do for our industry. Real quick for myself, my name is Kyle McCall. I'm the Director of Commercialization Services with the Center for Excellence in Mining Innovation and with the program that we run called MICA. We support technology development and the commercialization of new mining technologies across Canada. So one of the things that we do is we host these spotlights and shine a light on new technologies or new solutions for the industry, especially as it adopts new digital technology softwares and all that other kind of stuff that is making our sites more efficient, productive, and safe. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to DRT. Neil, it's all yours.
Thanks very much, Kyle. And yes, thanks everybody for taking the time to join us today. Much appreciated. I will share my screen right now and jump into the presentation. Let's just see here. There we go. Okay, everybody see my screen okay there? I hope. Yeah, so I'm with DRT Cyber and want to talk to you about cybersecurity in the mining industry and why it's important and what you can do to stay secure. I'm not getting any response here. There we go. So the topic is securing the mine, protecting assets, reducing insurance premiums, and what you can do with us using our globally patented AI to outpace cyber threats. And I'd really first like to say thanks very much to Mika for being the platform for us here. I just joined last year and was um, fortunate enough to attend your national conference in November, and really enjoyed my time there, meeting everybody, and was very impressed with the level of presentations and the technology that was involved in what was demonstrated throughout the course of the conference. So, from my perspective, who is DRT Cyber? Who are we? So we are a Canadian company. We are a wholly owned subsidiary of a Schedule One bank called VersaBank. VersaBank was the first branchless bank in North America and one of the first in the world, launched back in 1993, actually using modems pre-internet as a branchless operation. So always been very much advanced in the technology side of things and from an entrepreneurial approach to markets, in a very new market at the time. Even to this day, it's still a relatively new market. Um, VersaBank is a Schedule One bank here in Canada, but about a year ago, we got a full federal banking license in the US as well. So we are now a US bank, and that was a fairly unique thing. We are the first bank, the first non-US bank to get a full federal license in the States in over 30 years. So that's a rare thing. So VersaBank, a few years ago, about 5 years ago, launched DRT Cyber, and the original idea was to provide cybersecurity services to the bank itself and to build some products that would be protected from a cyber standpoint for the bank and for banking as everything moves ahead with crypto and all of that sort of thing. But we very quickly realized that this is something we could commercialize as well. So we had a decision to make. Did we want to grow organically or grow by acquisition? And we chose the latter. So, given that we are a branchless Canadian and now also a branchless US bank, although several years ago we were on the road to becoming a branchless US bank, it takes years to get the regulatory approval. We were hopeful that we would get there, and we ultimately did. But the reason I'm saying all that is in looking for an acquisition to grow, we didn't care where it was in North America because we're branchless and because we're now national in both Canada and the US. So we were looking all over for a company that had, great customers, great resources, great people, good techniques, great reputation, all of that sort of thing. And we found that company in Digital Boundary Group. They have been around for 20 odd years. They were 10 years younger than the bank. They were started in 2003. Um, and so we acquired Digital Boundary Group. Now, we are headquartered in London, Ontario, and we've got people and facilities around North America, but that's our main place. Turns out Digital Boundary Group is in London, Ontario. So we were doing a North America-wide search for the best acquisition target and came up with Digital Boundary Group in London. Just pure coincidence that they're in our backyard. In parallel to that, also about 5 years ago, our chief operating officer at the time, who had joined us from RIM BlackBerry, most people know that RIM BlackBerry phone story didn't end particularly well, but what a lot of people don't know is they were and continue to be a leader in security and cybersecurity in particular on a global basis, like the White House is a customer, that sort of thing. And he was the chief architect of cybersecurity with Warren BlackBerry before he joined us. And the reason that is important is at that time, in that capacity, and then as well in the capacity joining us, he was doing a global search for a partner in the AI and machine learning space for penetration testing, for cybersecurity penetration testing. There's a very short list of companies that were doing this sort of thing. Again, this is 5 years ago and even more because he started look a year or two before he joined us. And in parallel to that, I happened to get introduced to a company that does the very same thing. So I brought it to his attention, And between us, we decided that this was the best company to work with. And they're a company called Ezotech. They also have their product is called Tanuki, and it is an AI machine learning external pen test and social engineering tool. So we partnered with them, but we did not do that lately. We tested Tanuki extensively. We ran pen tests against the bank, our parent company, using Tanuki, and did the same thing with Digital Boundary Group resources, humans that do pen testing, and compared the outputs, compared the reports. And we did that with the bank. We did that with a friendly partner of ours in the UK, who is now, but wasn't at the time, but is now a customer of both Tanuki and our Digital Boundary Group services, the human services for pen testing. But at the time, we did two standalone tests to compare the results. And then we've done it several times since then, including with an aerospace company that had, when we spoke to them, just done some testing with their provider, Capgemini. They had not remediated or fixed anything that the report found. So we were able to, again, do an apples to apples comparison and run Tanuki against it. So in all of these cases, Tanuki shored up very well against the humans in terms of what the output was. So we were very impressed with it, and we signed with Ezotech. Well, here's the third very strange coincidence. It turns out Ezotech is from London, Ontario as well. So VersaBank and DRT Cyber does a North America-wide search for an acquisition, find Digital Boundary in our backyard, and a global search for AI and machine learning pen testing partner, and we find Ezotech in our backyard. And all three of those, or four of those organizations really, are all under one roof right now. We are partnered with Ezotech, but VersaBank owns DRT, and DRT owns Digital Boundary. So that's who we are. So on to the main part of the presentation here. Why is cybersecurity important? And it's important for everyone. Why do you need to worry about it in mining? You guys are digging and drilling. What are hackers going to want to do with you? Like, I mean, it's a valid question. But the fact of the matter is, hackers around the world are super sophisticated and they are attacking everywhere all the time. They're constantly checking through recon and all the various tools that they've got for likely targets. And in many, many, many cases, of course, they're very sophisticated operations with very specific targets that they create very specific plans for. One of the most basic ways of attacking, and the most common ones, although it can be very sophisticated, is phishing, social engineering. And that is the number one attack vector, both in terms of the actual total dollar impact and the sheer actual volume of attacks. Now, phishing, that said, can lead to and or involve many other attack types. And also these attack types can be standalone as well. This can all happen in many, many different ways. But what I just want to do here is sort of sensitize you, if you're less familiar with it, to some of the many ways it can happen and what has actually happened in your industry. So a common one is denial of service, where the hackers overwhelm websites, they overwhelm a company's systems. And a recent example of that was just a couple of years ago, Iluka Resources. They had their website was taken down. Fortunately for them, the hackers did not get internal access, so it limited the dollar cost and impact. That's about as good as that story can get, given what happened. But denial of service, even if they don't get internal, can, depending on your business, be still extremely problematic. And of course, it doesn't look good to your partners and customers and all of that sort of thing. Now, taking it to another level, ransomware is a common tool that hackers use, where they will use denial of service or acquisition of materials or information, and then force companies to pay them to give them their access back, or to give them materials back, or any combination of those. Back in 2022, Orubis paid a ransom. The actual dollar value was not disclosed, and Copper Mountain Mining paid millions. It was not disclosed exactly how much, but it was reportedly in the millions. So those are the sorts of things that can happen to any company and do happen, and they happen in your industry. Fraud, where you can have a whole variety of different things happen, where you can go from somebody getting internal access to your financial systems, and then they can manipulate invoices, uh, move raw materials around. Again, Orubis got hit a year later, totally separate attack, and it impacted their inventory massively to the tune of $185 million. Another thing is actually taking the data itself, whether it's used for uh, ransomware or not. In your particular instance, you have very valuable data in the form of geological surveys, financials, personally identifiable information, your production forecasts, you name it. There's all kinds of information that can be used, and it can be used in a variety of different ways. Companies can use it to manipulate stock or to take advantage of things illegally, or it can be resold, and it can be resold back to the owning company in the form of ransomware, or it can be resold to competitors. Um, there is a very large criminal ransomware group that is a multinational out of Russia called Bianlian, and they're involved in industries all over. They're not just mining; they're everywhere. But one of the ones that they were implicated in was an Australian company called Northern Minerals Limited in 2024. And again, the ransom was paid; the amount was not disclosed. And then finally, and actually, this isn't even finally, these are just a high level summary of the different things that can and do happen. But another one is redirecting or stealing payments. And Neocorp just last year got hit for $500,000. And the Oribus example from 2023 is an example with raw materials. So this industry is new to me from my standpoint and from DRT Cyber generally. Digital Boundary Group, in their early days before we acquired them, and about 15, 20 years ago, had a number of different mining company customers in South America. But right now, it's sort of a fresh market for us. That said, my father was a geological engineer and his father was a geological engineer. So I've got some of the background there, but it's new for me. Point is, I was able to find all of this information literally in about 10 minutes. So the point here is not to give you a comprehensive view of everything that has happened. It's just to give you a view of what could happen and some of the examples of what has actually happened in your industry. So one of the things that I was brought to my attention in the conference was how advanced your industry is actually becoming, uh, from an AI integration, automation, machine learning, all of that sort of thing, in many many different respects. And I was very interested to see the number of different companies presenting what they're doing in those spaces. Um, Now that said, making these advancements from a technology standpoint and from an electronic integration standpoint is a double-edged sword, because of course it brings benefits to you guys in your operations, streamlines things, allows you to be more efficient, brings all sorts of value to you. But the fact of that electronic integration and advanced technology just immediately opens up potential attack vectors. It makes the number of different places that these bad actors can try to access your operations and do any of the number of things that I just outlined very quickly, to mess with your operation and to impact you in a very negative way. um, the fact that everything is that much more integrated also means the impacts are that much more integrated. So when you integrate all these various systems, once somebody gets a hack into one of them, and if they're touching other systems, well, because of that electronic connection, the bad guys can then use that information to make their attack even that much more broad. So there's two sides to that for sure. And that's why it's very important to protect your company from all of these external threats, attacks, hacks, and phishing. Those are all the sort of outside in attacks. Um, the other key point is the bad guys have their own tech and AI, and they're using it in all kinds of different ways. And again, I'm not going to spend any real time going into the detail of how those sorts of things can be used, but I'm sure you all have heard stories of deep fakes where a CFO was impersonated and had payments paid to a fake company to the tune of millions of dollars. That's happened over and over again. That's just one example of AI. And the other thing that we can be sure of, unfortunately, is that the bad guys are always going to be a step ahead. This is what they do for a living, and they have access to all the best people, well, the best bad people, and the best tools and the best technology. And that's what they do 24/7. And they're constantly learning and they're constantly sharing different modes of attacking and different viruses, and all of that sort of thing is out there. So the threat is real. The threat exists for every industry, and it's not going to go backwards. It's just going to keep going forwards. As you guys become more technologically advanced, so will they, and all of this will advance. So, that sounds pretty bleak, and it is disconcerting for sure, but that doesn't mean, all is not lost. Of course, there's lots and lots and lots of things that you can do. So what can you do, and what should you be doing? When you're looking at the security posture of a company, your own company, for instance, there's a whole bunch of different things that you can do defensively and operationally from a day-to-day standpoint to stop these things from happening or prevent them from happening, or alert yourself if something is happening so that you then take action to stop it. All of those sorts of things companies can do and will do. And unsurprisingly, you get into advanced technology industries and you're going to be filled with acronyms. So again, this is not an exhaustive list by any means, but here's a whole bunch of different things that companies have at a high level. A lot of companies set up a security operations center. And in that security operations center, you can have a SIM, security information and event management system. You can have various different types of EDR and endpoint detection and response. And again, all of these things are sort of used in conjunction, and there's lots and lots of different tools and capabilities out there. Beyond firewalls and everything else under the sun, there's many, many technological advances that allow companies to set up defenses on a day-to-day operational standpoint. You can also, subcontract that. So managed security services provider, MSSPs. And some companies, do both. They'll have their own internal IT security, and they'll have that in conjunction with an MSSP. Some completely outsource it to an MSSP, and some are maybe not big enough and just have a few IT people on board. And it's down to them to do whatever they can with the tools and budget at their disposal to protect the operation as best they can. So those are the sorts of things that you can do on a day-to-day operational defensive thing. There's a whole nother aspect, though, in cybersecurity, and that is testing. And testing is a different approach. What testing is doing is taking an active measure to actively find out where any company's particular vulnerabilities might be, and also to exploit them safely and with friendly people to find exactly what those weaknesses are and how bad an exploitation might be. And then, of course, you remediate those things and fix them so that you stop them in advance of anything happening. So pen testing is really, really important and very, very useful, and gives companies a powerful tool to prepare themselves in advance of all of these other day-to-day operational things that you might do. And that's what DRT Cyber and our partner Ezotech does. And that's all we do. We focus on testing and testing alone. And again, when you look at testing, there's all sorts of different types of tests. There's external pen tests, internal pen tests, web app pen tests, mobile app pen tests, and then there's social engineering / phishing. All of those sorts of things are different, or you can set up tests in all of those capacities to find the weaknesses and the vulnerabilities so that you can go ahead and patch them and remediate them. That's what we do. We do not do any operational things. We do not do any defensive things, and we don't do any of the remediation. We will work with our customers to tell them what they should do, but it's down to their IT and or their MSSP or whoever to actually conduct the remediation. So that's who DRT Cyber is, and that's what we do. And from this standpoint, and for the purposes of this webinar today, I'm going to focus on Tanuki because I think that that is easily the best bang for the buck, specifically for your industry and any industry that is maybe not as advanced in this area as others. It's a great place to start. It gives you tremendous value and covers a whole lot of bases. So what is Tanuki? It's the good guy AI. So this is artificial intelligence, machine learning driven. It is a fully autonomous, exploitative, NIST-compliant pen test and social engineering tool. And the autonomous piece is really important. There's all sorts of automated tools out there, and they're useful. So like an automated scanner, like a Nessus scanner, companies use that. And what a scanner will do is the simple analogy is it knocks on the doors and windows of your business to see what's open. And that's useful information. But it doesn't stop there. A pen tester might use a scanner like a Nessus scanner or some other scanner to do that, or they could just do it themselves. But either way, they'll find those open doors and windows, but then they go through them. And that's where the exploitation comes in. And that's a whole much more advanced thing. And it also will tell you a lot more about what your vulnerabilities truly are and what the potential impacts could be when somebody goes through those doors and windows, finds information, and then maybe takes that into another one of the rooms or uses it to open a room that wasn't open previously. Um, Same with from a phishing standpoint, our social engineering test is a lot of companies know before, and again, they're a useful tool, but they're basically down to not unlike the scanner, which tells you open doors and windows. They count clicks to tell you who clicks something, and that's like your open door or window, right? It's somebody saying, okay, oops, I let them in. So it gives you information, and they also have a training component, and there's useful, but that is not an exploitative social engineering test. That is what Tanuki does, and it is fully autonomous. And so I sort of went down the route of what automated is. Autonomous means there is no human intervention whatsoever. So a Nessus scanner has a human directing it, interpreting the results, writing the report, decisioning, making decisions about what to do, all of those sorts of things. Tanuki as a platform does all of that without any human involvement whatsoever. As a result, and this is also why we partnered with them, we found that they were hands down the best tool in this space in the world. They are the only ones that hold patents, and they hold patents here in Canada, in the States, in Australia, and India, and patent pending in WIPO, the World International Patent Organization. That's significant. Those things, they don't just hand those things out. That's another kind of like getting a banking license is a years and years long endeavor. And there's no guarantee you're going to get it. And we do have those patents with our partner with Ezotech. So again, what Ezotech focuses on and what I'm talking about here today is the external pen test aspect and the advanced social engineering. Now that said, our partners, Ezotech, have been working on Tanuki basically since we first met them 5 years ago to build a second version of Tanuki that incorporates internal pen testing. And internal pen testing, of course, just like it sounds, is what else can be done once you've got that internal access through an external pen test. So it's actually a progression of the testing. And Tanuki as a tool will now incorporate the whole end-to-end piece from external, either through straight up attack or through phishing, through the internal testing. Those internal testing modules will be available within the next couple of months. The entire platform is sold as a software as a services. It does not require any install or any appliances or anything. It's all done completely remotely. As I mentioned at the beginning, we have tested them many, many times now, including with other customers beyond the first 3 that we did before we partnered with them, where we've seen how Tanuki performs against human testers, and they've always performed remarkably well. It's an incredibly impressive, incredibly powerful tool. It delivers a 50, 60 page report that looks, reads, and feels like it was produced from a human. In fact, we've had many instances where the reports are shown to people, and I can send redacted reports to give you an idea of what it looks like, and customers, they just can't believe that it was produced by a machine without any human involvement whatsoever. Um, Given that it is a machine, it's always available. It allows unlimited repeatable testing, which again, if you're using people to do your testing, which is the traditional method, number one, it's expensive. Number two, it's very time consuming. So you have to book those tests typically. So Digital Boundary, our wholly owned sub that does a lot of this with people, um, will book those tests uh, weeks or months in advance. It takes days or weeks to run the test and write the report. And then as soon as the report's done, um, it's basically out of date because anything that happens after that is not captured by the report. The other thing that happens is when you get that report and it's given to the IT team or the MSSP or whatever, and they go away and remediate it, once the remediation, the fixes are done, after a month or two or however how long it takes, you should really test again to make sure that the remediation, number one, worked, and also that none of the fixes broke anything, which is always a possibility when you're dealing with complex systems and that sort of thing. So Tanuki can be set up to run weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever, on demand. It's always available. And then also anytime separate from a remediation from a pen test, if you change something in your network or architecture, again, the prudent thing would be testing. But the reason companies don't do that is because it's super expensive when you use humans for that. Tanuki can do all of that over and over and over again. And again, very simply at a high level, any given test for any given company is priced based on scope. How big is the test? How many endpoints are you testing? How many IPs are you testing? How many email addresses are included in the social? And then there's a price assigned to that based on what the estimated man hours are going to be. And that's how manual pen testing is priced. Um, we price Tanuki, again, roughly speaking, because it's not always exactly the same from company to company, but generally speaking, apples to apples, scope for scope, we price Tanuki at about the same price as one single human test, but you get unlimited testing with that. And that's where a tremendous amount of the value comes from. So what does it do and not do? What it doesn't do is it doesn't get sick, doesn't get tired. It doesn't run out of bandwidth or scope. So human testers are limited just by the fact that they've only got one set of hands and one set of eyes, whereas Tanuki is virtually unlimited in what it can tackle at any given time. When I mentioned that a report will take one or several testers days or weeks in many cases to actually conduct and then write the report, Tanuki does that in hours. From start to finish, from the initiation, you press the button to start it going, to the delivery of the full report, is measured in hours. It's a whole different game. It doesn't take vacation, doesn't develop familiarity bias, and this is a real thing. When you've got the same humans testing the same environment over and over again from one year to the next, or even if you can do it more than once a year, it's just human nature that you're not going to be quite as switched on, and you're going to be used to seeing things because everything doesn't change massively typically in one organization. So for that reason, a lot of companies, very large multinationals that have an audit committee that review this stuff and make sure that tests are done, they will ensure that you don't use the same pen testing team for more than 2 or 3 years in a row, for that very reason. Well, Tanuki, because it's a machine, it does not have that built into it. It's always a new test every time. Um, it also doesn't cost anywhere near what humans do for the reasons that I just said, because we price an unlimited access of testing at the same price as one single human test. So it improves your chances of getting cybersecurity insurance, which is really the last line of defense. When you look at all the things that I was talking about before, the security operations centers, the everything that you do to prevent things from happening. Well, cyber insurance is really the last line. That means something has happened, and this is your safety net, really. But cyber insurance can be hard to get for a variety of reasons. And one of the measures that insurance companies look at is what is your current security posture? And do you do testing? And have you done testing? Are you planning to do testing going forward? They're also going to want to know what your operational and defensive measures are. And they're going to take all of that into account to assess the risk and determine, number one, whether you get insurance at all. And number two, if you get it, how much you're going to pay for it. So having something like Tanuki in your tool set significantly improves your chances of getting cyber insurance in the first place, and will also lower your premiums because they're going to see that you have done the testing, that you are doing the testing, that you're taking the right steps, that you're doing the sorts of things that protect you so that the likelihood of them actually having to pay an insurance claim is much lower. So tremendous amount of value there. AI machine learning tool is by definition constantly learning, but that's not the only piece. The other piece that's important that I mentioned at the very beginning is that's all we do, and that's all EasyTech does is testing. So all the EasyTech team does is support Tanuki in production and develop new modules as new threats come. So some new threat comes in the wild, and they will find out about it because they're constantly on the alert and lookout for these sorts of things, and then very quickly build a module to replicate that. And that's instantly incorporated into Tanuki, and all of our customers have that instantly built in. There's no new charge or no new cost. Tanuki is just upgraded on the fly across the board as new threats emerge so that they're built into Tanuki. That's very, very hard to do with humans. So for all of these reasons, it very significantly improves your security posture, and it does it in an economical way. The final thing that's very important for any of these sorts of things is what's the deliverable, because that's really what you're paying for in the end when you're looking at pen testing. The report's the key thing, because the report's going to tell you what you need to do and what your vulnerabilities and exposures are. Tanuki gives you a very comprehensive suite of reports. So there's the top level external pen test report that's pretty industry standard. It's a comprehensive document, as I mentioned, usually 50, 60 pages or so. But then you can also create a detailed breach report from the same test, and that will give you a whole bunch more details about each individual breach in a much more granular fashion. You can also run a separate report that focuses on the social, giving you more details on all of that as well. All of this is incorporated in the top level report, but you can generate reports that give you more detail and are more focused. And then the last one that's really important and very useful is there's a scorecard, which is a higher level one that gives you an overview for non-technical, non-security IT people, executives, boards, to share with partners if you're being audited, or if you're going through an RFP and somebody asks you, have you had a test? All of these sorts of things, you can share the scorecard. These are all the outputs of Tanuki. So that's what you're getting for with that, and that's what I wanted to focus on here today. Basically, that's the end of the presentation. I'd like to say thank you again very much for taking the time out of your busy days. I know this is sort of a niche thing in your market, and it's a less mature part of the mining industry. But I'm very excited to be involved with Mika and your companies as well. I was fortunate enough to engage with a number of companies as a result of being at the national conference last year, and would be very happy with anybody who attends here or anybody who's looking at this after the live showing. I know this will be posted on LinkedIn, that sort of thing. If you're interested in more information about Tanuki specifically, or all the other stuff that we do with Digital Boundary Group, which again, there's a whole bunch more things we could talk about there, but I wanted to keep this sort of focused on the one really big material add where AI and machine learning can support cybersecurity in the mining industry. So if you'd like a demo of that, you can reach out to me. This is my contact information, and I'd be more than happy to set that up at your convenience. So I think we've got about 20 minutes left. If there's any questions, I think um, Kyle will join.
I'm
Or come
back.
back
Yeah.
on. Yep. Not join. You're there the whole time anyway. Um, and if you've, I don't know if there's any questions out there, if anything's come through, but happy to answer them. And I've got my man Al to back me up from a technology and detail security standpoint if somebody asks something that's a little bit deeper than my knowledge. So, um, is there anything out there, Kyle?
Nothing in the chat, but so folks that are online here, encourage you, if you got any questions for Neil and Alan, now's the time to plop them in there in the chat or in the Q&A. And we'll get going. And yes, of course, cybersecurity, I think important, not just for operations, but for vendors as well. I know it's a question that operators are asking the vendors more and more. What's your cybersecurity protocols? What kind of cybersecurity do you have on your devices? How do you make sure that your own business and your operations are not going to be subject to some kind of cybersecurity threat?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it can be and has become a bit of a barrier to actually getting your technology adopted on site. If the mine operators are your kind of your end customer, it's important to make sure that your operations are also tight with the cybersecurity. All right. So folks, yeah, don't be shy. And you come in.
And
How long have you guys been at this, Neil? Maybe I'll start there.
Sure. So DRT Cyber was started, I guess it's almost 6 years ago now. And we've been partnered with Ezotech for almost 5 years. And Ezotech's been at it for about 8. Um, so they started, oh, here's the other thing that I forgot, the third coincidence. The gentleman that started Ezotech used to work at Digital Boundary Group. So the guy that decided to come up with Tanuki, the product, was a Digital Boundary employee and decided to go out on his own and basically clone himself was the idea. Um, so just very interesting that all of those things happened in London, Ontario, and they're all now connected through us at DRT Cyber. But Digital Boundary, as our wholly owned sub, has been at this for almost 25 years. So 2003 they were started. We've got customers in 40 odd countries around the world, so we're multinational from that standpoint. We focus predominantly in North America, but we have customers everywhere. And Ezotech, along with us, has customers in Europe, and separate from us, because as a separate company, they got customers beyond our joint customers in basically every continent. They're in Asia, they're in Africa, they're in Australia, and of course all over North America and Europe. So we've been operating for that period of time, and we've got an extensive track record and extensive experience.
Got one more to throw at you here, and then maybe we'll let you go. As you've started to kind of get your toe wet here in the mining industry, perhaps what has surprised you most about the conversations that you've had and the willingness of the industry to kind of engage with cybersecurity as an issue?
It's relatively early for me because I met Chamurai last year at a conference, and we got to talking and then sort of engaged. So it's been limited in that sense. But I'd say the thing that was uh, not only the most surprising, but also the most impressive thing was what I sort of already alluded to, is how technologically advanced. There was a number of different AI-driven solutions, partnerships, products that were demonstrated at your conference that I was very, happy to attend, and will be attending again this year. So I'd say that level of advancement was a little bit more than I expected. And I guess in retrospect, it shouldn't be that surprising, but that was the main thing. But again, as I mentioned in my presentation, the very fact of using those advanced technologies and increasing your technological footprint means that the bad guys can access more different things. So it's obviously a big benefit for companies to take advantage of this for their operations, but you also got to protect your operations from the bad guys that might want to attack it. So that's where we come in, and that's where I think from all the different things that we offer within DRT Cyber through Digital Boundary and our partnership, Tanuki can bring a lot to the table very quickly. The other thing is we deploy in no time. So using Tanuki is incredibly simple, despite being a staggeringly complex tool. I've got a customer that we set up, a small pension fund company out in Western Canada. And when we started talking to them, they had an IT director, and then we started putting together the contract to set them up for Tanuki, and that gentleman left. But they still wanted to go ahead with it. And so for the first 4 or 5 months that they were running, they put their VP of HR in charge of running Tanuki. And we got her up and running on Tanuki in half an hour. And that's basically what it takes. It's a very, very simple product to set up, deliberately so. But what it does and what it delivers is incredibly complex, but very easy to use. And as I mentioned, no install. We don't have to be on-prem. Even when we get to the internal pen testing, a lot of companies that do that require an appliance to be installed. We do not require any of that. So it's all completely SaaS, completely remote, and does not require advanced technical knowledge at all to run it. That said, we're always there to support our customers, answer questions, run the tests with them, whatever they need. That's what we do as well.
Great. Well, I appreciate that answer, and Neil and Alan, appreciate your time talking a little bit more about a subject that I know will get more and more shine as the industry advances and adopts more and more of these kinds of technologies. The solutions that you guys offer are going to be more and more in demand. So happy to, again, have you guys share that knowledge with us and a little bit more about DRT Cyber. So that's it. Thanks, folks, for tuning in. You'll be able to find us on YouTube and on LinkedIn as well after the fact. So thanks, and again, enjoy your afternoon. Take care, everyone.
Thanks again, everybody. Cheers.